was asked to talk to you for a few minutes today on what I believe are keys to successful ministry. I've been serving in ministry for a number of years, and I can tell you that you will experience the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, from board problems to managing conflicts to baptismal services, wonderful altar calls, and everything in between. I remember one time in particular, I was working a VBS, Vacation Bible School, with my pastor at the time, and we were in the sanctuary filled with children, rambunctious and joyfully singing and playing games and all the wonderful things that go along with Vacation Bible School. And we left one of the other staff members in charge of the remainder of the Vacation Bible School and left the campus and went across town to a funeral home where a family was having a funeral service for one of their children that had died in infancy, and just the highest of highs and then a crashing low that you experience. Paul wrote about this. He said, we in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, we have this wonderful light of Jesus Christ that we carry about in earthen vessels, and we're pressed but not destroyed. We're not shaken. We're beat down, but not destroyed. And that brings me to the question I want to ask you today is, how is your resilience? Because in my opinion, that's one of the key tools that we need as ministers, to be resilient. But where we get our resilience is a key factor. Paul, in his letter to Philippians, I believe, has one of the greatest tools for me and for my life when he writes that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. Paul was one of the most resilient Bible characters I can think about. Here he was in prison writing his letter to the Philippians, and it's called the letter of joy for a reason. He was resilient when he could be bemoaning the fact of where he was and the situation he was in, the frustration of not being able to do ministry the way he thought his life would turn out. But he knew he was in God's care and in God's direction. And that scripture just rings so true to me, that I may know him. I know that it is important, and I do have people in my life that are mentors, people that I call not when I want to hear what I want to hear, but people who love me enough to tell me the truth of what I need to hear and not what I want to hear. And those are really important to have those. But to be resilient, you need something within yourself that is going to be able to get you to bounce back in a healthy way in the ways of ministry when you're tossed and turned every which way. And that to me is that we may know him. That we may know him. Early in my ministry, the Lord taught me some powerful lessons in knowing his voice. We can trust in other people and go to others to hear what their opinions are and their thoughts are on certain things. But when it comes down to it, if you and I are going to be resilient in ministry, and resilience brings the fact of being compressed because of stress or something and being able to bounce back, it's knowing his voice in our lives. One point, one of our pastors, when I was doing ministry to other churches, I was frustrated because I didn't feel like he was giving me the affirmation or the feedback that I thought that I should receive from him, and I felt let down. And one day I was in the secretary's office, and the pastor was evidently getting ready to go out of town, and he had his briefcase sitting up on the secretary's office, and I noticed my brochures were sitting on the top of his briefcase, and I just sensed the Spirit telling me, you see, he is supporting you, but not in the ways that you think he ought to. And it taught me that God wanted me to learn his voice first and foremost. And those are the things that have carried me through rough times and tough times, is that knowing that I know that I know. And that's that epignosis that God talks about. And that we would have the power of his resurrection alive in us. People, we're in it for the long haul. And ministry is a work, a calling that you and I are called to do, that we need to have that resilience, that we will be healthy within our minds, within our bodies, within our spirits. And knowing his voice for yourself is what will carry you through to the end. God bless you.